sober for a while now. I've been just raw in life. Just raw in life. No liquor, no caffeine. Just out here just raw in life.
That's what I really got to shake that. I gotta get rid of the caffeine thing.
Mm. Are you
It's
drinking
just
like
tough.
coffee or energy drinks?
Yeah, anything that has caffeine in it, yeah,
Mm.
it don't
Yeah.
even work. So that's why I can drink that and go to sleep. So it's like it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
even work
Well, what do you want it to work for?
to keep you like going.
And keep you woke, keep you present. Is that the international sign for going? Going. Little paper plane hand.
I'm about to be drunk because I can't waste this.
You got the funnels in your bar. When you give up, it's
I
like,
gotta
okay,
finish
I'm
this
tapping
whole
out.
drink.
Let me get a funnel.
This
This is my
$400
Johnny
drink.
Walker funnel. It's Johnny Walker branded though.
Oh man. Yeah, we'll see how that
You
goes.
have a hard day. You want to tell us about your day? Like he pours like a full. What is that? Would you
Listen,
a
I
full
don't.
Kool Aid
I
cup of whiskey? Full Kool Aid cup, like you got out for like a hot day, like you was playing all day, playing ball all day. You just couldn't wait to get home and pour that big giant glass of Kool Aid. But
I
this time
haven't.
it's,
I
it's
haven't
whiskey.
poured. I haven't poured a drink in so long. I forgot you're not supposed to pour that much. And so I was pouring it like it was like some juice
Yeah,
or
it
some
looked like
water. And I was like,
like
oh shit.
like I'm thirsty.
Yeah.
Where's the spirits?
Like I
Quench
have
my
cheaper
thirst.
alcohol. Like where's my $20 drink for that?
Yeah.
Uh, but anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna get an intro this time.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen,
And for you
ladies
two toe ups.
and
Be
gentlemen.
ladies and gentlemen. Here we go slamming the ladies and gentlemen.
It's gonna be y'all. It's gonna be y'all. We here,
Right.
ladies and gentlemen. It's another episode of the Rich by Monday podcast. I'm your host, Jared Wilkins, aka the Google grad,
And I'm Dorance Creighton.
or Dorance or Creighton.
Right. Or Dorance or Creighton. Or D Creighton II. Which is supposed to be the second.
Do you want your Instagram handle or Twitter handle there, or you want like your actual name?
I think that's fine. I mean, I get to type it in, so yes, I type that in, and which is fine, I guess.
I
I
guess
guess
I
if it's on
can.
the internet, they can track my bullshit directly to me. It was
You
him.
should. You should probably put the symbol
Get him.
like put the symbol before your name.
Oh, that. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because some people are they
Yeah, let's
can't
see.
put that together.
Right. Let's see if we can do it now.
They're not gonna be able to put that together. Like,
There we go. Oh, look at that. The magic of
yeah, see,
technology.
yeah.
Yeah, it's at D Creighton II.
Anyway,
Link in my
welcome
bio.
back, y'all. Welcome back. Welcome back. I know we late. It's all right. It's I don't know whose fault it is, but we
It's for sure your fault. 100%.
but everything is good. So, but like I was asking you though. So how do you feel about the student loan thing? Because I have a few thoughts. So I want to know how you feel about it.
I feel that is great. It's beneficial. Um, it's helping everyday people, and why not? PPP loans were forgiven way more than $10,000. I don't know. It's just interesting that it seems like it's just people just don't want to give what they consider poor Americans anything. They always call it a handout. If it's a if it's with businesses, it's an opportunity. So it's just a little different. But I think it helped a lot of people. It was interesting. People were like, yo, this is not enough, which is true. I think the average student loan debt was like 30,000 on average. But they also said the 10,000 would clear up was it 70% of student loans. So I don't know. They must have crunched their numbers and said, look, this will get us there with less money as possible. So
Um, I honestly don't. It doesn't bother me. I realize it bothers a lot of people though, but it doesn't bother me because Biden ran on that, didn't he? That was like one of the. That was like his version of like Trump's wall, right?
yeah,
Like
that was the main talking point for sure. Yeah, I
yeah,
remember.
like Trump was like, I got the wall. He's like, I got money
Well,
for the student
actually,
loans.
if we want to be honest, it was actually Bernie. Bernie ran off of that, and then Biden kind of picked it up. I'm like, yeah, okay, they like
And
that.
after they threw him to the side,
Yeah, after after we
after they
run
locked him in
over
the
Bernie,
basement.
it's like, all right, yeah, let's go ahead and run over you, and we'll take that idea. I guess they did like that. We'll pluck that one from you. And go sit in the corner.
I really don't. I really don't have a problem with it. I didn't realize it was that big of a, that big of a deal. But I will say, I don't understand like the, I don't understand the correlation or like the reasoning behind like, or the excitement behind like the White House tweeting about PPP loans because those loans were given to employees.
Yeah, in some cases, unless I mean, there's a lot of fraud going on. Uh,
Yeah, but I
you know,
mean the people who were like, okay, like this is the White House. The White
mhm.
House Twitter account
I
turned
think it's
into
a
a meme account.
no, that was funny, and I
It
enjoyed
turned
it.
into a clapback account.
Yeah,
Like
I
that
I enjoyed that.
that's not
I mean,
weird to you?
there
This is the
no,
White
it
House.
there should be some decorum, but I mean, just knowing that everything is absurd anyway, I enjoyed the absurdity of it. So I'm just here to
This
enjoy
this
it.
is this is way too much alcohol.
Okay, you keep slamming it down like a gavel.
Because I'm tired of it already. Um,
um,
but yeah, I just don't. It just felt like okay, come on, man. Like this is the White House.
yeah, I mean that whole thought of how things should have, there should be some decorum to what's going on in our world. That's out the window. It's completely out the window. Um, if we haven't noticed it by now, we're not gonna get it because we're in a completely different new life and reality when it comes to how you behave and how you do things. Um, but it's one of those things where you kind of have to, and I understand too. You kind of have to talk to people on the internet in a way they know how to um, receive information, and that's in the form of memes. I mean, it works. It works. It literally works. If they put up a, a press release or some type of memo from the '80s where you got to click on a PDF to read it, like no one's going to read that. No one would read it. So you have to deliver media to people in the way they consume it. So if you want to get your point across, that's the best way to get your point across. And I
But
think
what
I
was
think
the
it came
point?
back.
What was the point in tying student loans to PPP loans? Like, they're not the same.
Well, what
And it, like that's my thing. Is like, okay, we turned into a meme account is laughable. I get that. Um, but like, what was the point?
the correlation is loan forgiveness. I mean, the correlation is pretty close. I mean, you have one loan forgiveness On one side, that's a student loan, and then you have business loan forgiveness. It's on the
Hmm.
business side. I mean, the correlation is pretty tight there. Um,
Well, but the loan was only given to companies to pay their employees.
yeah, but that also floats the company so they can be in business another month or another 2 months or another year.
I
So,
understand. So
so they're still
why is it seen as, oh, y'all wasn't tripping on this, on this money being forgiven or whatever, but that money went to keep people employed.
I don't think you make that point until someone on the opposing side of who's against these student loans makes the point of they're forgiving this money and giving money away.
They give money
So
away
I mean,
twice. They give you money from the government
so
paid your check from your job, and they paid your student loans. Like, I don't see how one is worse. Like, why is it bad that a company they paid you twice?
well, what I'm saying is, if you
Like,
if you present if someone complains, the opposing side complains about debt forgiveness, that's the underlying debt forgiveness. But then they discount and just actually forget about the debt they were actually literally forgiven just only months ago. So it's more so you're making a point. You're trying to make a point um, about a whole nother debt forgiveness loan situation when you're being completely what would you call that? Um, what do you call you being a jerk? Okay, you just being a jerk.
what I'm saying is, I hear all of that. Like, I understand. I understand that if we're looking at debt forgiveness, then yes, we're talking about the same thing, right? Two instances of debt forgiveness. Like, I get that, but the point of the White House putting out names of people who got PPP loans. Like,
Mm,
Did you know there was a whole podcast? I don't even. I'm at the point now where I'm so out of touch with, like, popular stuff.
mm.
I don't know if this is a joke or not, but there was a whole podcast or segment of a podcast about if Kanye West was going to jail.
What? The whole podcast was on that?
Yes, a whole segment of a very, very popular podcast
Mm,
the topic was, is Kanye West going to jail? Why would he be going to jail? Because he got a PPP loan. So
okay.
right there, there's a misunderstanding of what the PPP loan is. So is the White House playing into the fact that people don't know where that money went by making jokes on the internet?
Well, I don't know what platform you're talking about, but I think if you're talking about, I mean, there's a cultural understanding that people apply for PP loans fraudulently. So if they're just superseding that idea of PPP loans with fraudulent and and
Why
PP
else would the White
loans
House make a joke out of
and,
it? Like, that's
and
what I'm
PP
saying.
and
Why?
PPP loans that aren't fraudulent, maybe they're just putting two and two together and saying, well, Kanye must be going to jail because he also has a assuming fraudulent PPP loan. But I don't know. I don't know. I think
I'm not trying to make you argue for them. It's just I'm trying to understand how a person thinks when they've gotten money twice, but the first time is like, oh no, why are you complaining about this time when you got it forgiven? Like, that money went to you still. If you work at a business, it's very likely the business got a loan to pay you.
right.
Why? You know what I mean? Like, why would it be a
I get what you're saying, but
why would it be a joking matter that somebody got a PPP loan, like, when they got that to pay you?
who still pays for it though? So who pays for that loan though?
I understand. Like, I get that point. I'm trying to figure out why one
So
is
the
used
business
as a
still has to.
means to attack people who who got them to pay you. Like,
Who are you talking about? Now I'm getting lost. Now I'm getting lost in the them and the they.
because if you have a business and you got a PPP loan legally, you got it to cover payroll, right?
Mm-hmm. So it wasn't
That's
just payroll though. There's also business
payroll,
expenses.
rent,
Yeah.
things like that, right? to
Right.
operate the business
Uh-huh.
during whatever was going on. So what I'm saying is though, for the White House to make a joke out of it, like, oh, y'all got PPP loans, as if all of these loans are fraudulent. Like,
I don't I
you
don't
don't think
I
they
don't
knew what they were doing?
I
Like,
don't
this
think
this is
it, I
coming
don't think
from.
it I don't think it came off as a joke. So when we say meme, we make some memes are in jokes, but I think this was a factual um um uh, just banner that says you are against this, yet you also were not against this. So you're against loan forgiveness, but you're against loan forgiveness for others, but you weren't against loan forgiveness for yourself and your business. Um, I don't think that's a joke. I think that's factual. If you say you borrowed this much money and it was forgiven, damn, if it came from like a PPP loan or whatever. Let's just say you just borrowed money and it was forgiven, but now you're looking at someone else and saying they shouldn't have that loan forgiven because
Mhm.
for all these different reasons, who's paying for it? Where the national debt is going up. But it's just like it seems it's just interesting. People are quiet once they're actually benefiting from a certain policy, and it doesn't really matter about the debt, national debt. It doesn't matter about um, any type of um, anything. They just don't care. And it's just two faced, and I don't understand what's the well I do know. I understand what's the motivation for someone to say one thing and do another thing, and it's people stay on brand. People stay at 100% on brand, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're I can't think of that word right now, but it's
I mean,
it's
this
not two
I
faced. It's
feel I feel
what is
all
the
of that.
word?
I don't know. I'm trying to drink this
My brain's not
$1,000
working.
drink right now, but
My brain's not working right now.
um, but I feel all of that. What I'm saying, okay, so let's go back to the. So okay, maybe my thing is I get hung up on why the program was created in the first place.
Mm,
Because the government told business owners they could no longer operate, right? So, and business owners wanted to continue to operate, right? But
mm-hmm,
if we can't operate, they can't pay payroll.
mm-hmm.
So the government said, we'll force you to close, but we'll cover your payroll, so you can pay your employees and make sure your business is in good, is healthy until we figure this out. Is that Can we agree that that might be like the general idea of what the program was?
Um, yeah, semi, yeah. I mean, that's most of it. But the first thing that comes to mind is people who didn't have a brick and mortar. Maybe they had an online business.
No, I mean
They could still push out product.
I
So I don't.
understand that.
I
I'm
think
just
I
I'm
think the
trying to
main
keep it
thing we're missing
simple.
is the main thing we're missing is that people got funding for their business, and whether they were successful in making profit or not, they still got the funding. Still got the funding to push the business. So when you get your loan forgiving, but you also get to enjoy and reap the rewards and all the profit they got from it. I mean, but you say nothing. So let's say somebody who took $1 million in funding for their business and flipped it and made 5 million,
But you can't do that.
and then
You
got
like
the million.
you literally can't do that.
What you mean?
You can't. The money was made for a very very specific reason. Like, so you
Yeah,
can't.
I'm not saying flip it without outside of their business. I'm talking
No,
about
no. In their business, you can't do that. Like, that would trigger an audit.
you can't make profit off the money you got.
No, because it wasn't working capital. It was to cover payroll and expenses.
Yeah, but that keeps your business alive. I'm not saying they use the money to for R&R create a new product, but so for me to accept that premise, I have to think that no one made money by accepting money from the government to keep their business afloat and running.
I'm not saying that.
Like, how's that possible?
What I'm saying is that money was made to cover the payroll since they told your workers to go home. That's what it was for.
Yeah. So those workers still
Okay.
can't work.
No, they weren't supposed to work. They're supposed to go home. That's why the program was there. So you can. It's called the Paycheck Protection Program. So that way, while they're at home, you can still cover payroll
Yeah, I can't
without going
assume. I can't
bankrupt.
assume that all employees were sent home and didn't actually work. I mean, I know that's the case for people who couldn't have their restaurants open and in certain brick and mortars, but it'll be interesting to know what business did they have anyway. Just say the actual. I guess it was mostly Republicans um,
Of course.
who had the businesses. they got blasted out. Um, what were their businesses? Now I wonder um, if
It could be
they actually
family
did it.
offices. It could be
Yeah.
holding companies. It could be if you're in Congress or something. It could be donut shops. I don't know, but
I just don't know. I don't know. I just wonder what the business was and if they produced a product or a service, or because it could have been service based too. I mean, you can you could fold envelopes from inside your house, or from a
yeah,
remote
but
location.
the amount of money you got was based on the number of employees you had.
Right.
So if you, so
Or
like
income.
Kanye got a certain amount of money for his companies. I think it was like $2 million. So during this podcast I'm talking that I mentioned earlier, they talked about how he made so much money during the pandemic and he got a loan. So they just pointing those two things out, they basically said it was fraudulent because he made money. Why did he need that? That's not the point. But what the only thing that catches me gets me stuck in this is that both things were meant to serve the person that's trying to clap back. Is what I'm saying.
Wait, who you talking about? The employee?
Now, yes, the PPP loan was meant. It's called the Paycheck Protection Program. Now, whether somebody used it for that, that's a totally different thing. But what I'm saying is they're both meant to do the same thing. It's just that the forgiveness came from the business for the loan, and now the student loans come from you're being forgiven individually.
So
But
so are you imagining the people who are enjoying the tweet from the White House are employees of the people who received the PPP loan and were forgiven?
yes,
That's your imagination?
it's not imagination. They just don't know. People don't know. Why would they know? Why would they know if their company got a
Why would they
PPP
know?
loan? How would they know? How would they know
Yeah.
that if the company they work for got a PPP loan?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe I don't know. I don't know.
They wouldn't know. It wouldn't matter. They wouldn't
I
care
don't
because
know.
they wouldn't care. They just say they better have my paycheck. They're gonna send me home,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how
Yeah.
how would you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
And all I'm saying is both programs were meant to service the same base. Yet one of them is looked at like some kind of
Well,
benefit solely to people who are doing better than you.
there's only one group of a section of people who are complaining about um, something that benefits another group of people and don't
That's
benefit
not
them.
true.
So now it's
It's
interesting
not true.
because what you mean? What's not true?
That's not true because there are many Democrats who are currently running tight races who disagree with that, but they can't disagree with it as much as they want to because it would completely throw off their support from their party.
Okay, well, look, I agree that anyone who doesn't support one thing, who doesn't support loan forgiveness, but yet took a PPP loan and supported that with no problem, whether they're Democrat or Republican, are still two faced, And
All
I
y'all some
mean,
liars.
I don't care what side you're on, it's still stupid, It still doesn't make any sense.
Oh, I'm gonna be drunk. I think I'm drunk already. But
uh,
yeah,
yeah,
that's all
so
I'm saying. Though that's all. That's all I'm saying. Is like you. It's like getting paid twice and then acting like you only got paid once. That's how I see it.
Yeah,
Now,
well,
if the company took the money and then paid you payroll and never touched that money, because I know somebody who did that. They got like 1.2 million in loans. The company I used to work for, actually, they got like 1.2 million in loans. He never touched the money. He made payroll out of his pocket, and he still has it, just sitting there. But does that mean like, you know what I mean? Like, what does that mean for somebody like him?
yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Like, is he a bad person because he got a loan?
I don't know.
Because he got a government loan? Like, I'm just trying
He
to
ain't got it forgiven.
understand. I don't know. I don't know if it's been forgiven yet, but
So
I'm just trying to understand.
now. What I thought about is, most of the student loans are actually held by the government. Like it was like 1.7 trillion or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and the private loans, the amount of the private loans were like 130 billion or something. Now, what is what's the government's benefit for for giving their own loans that they gave out, and why? Maybe that's why it was so easy to forgive the loan, because it's they hold the note.
Yeah, no, that's what it is.
But then
That's what it is.
the other thought is, um, if it's the government giving out loans and forgiving them, why are people so pressed that that was forgiven? It feels like it feels more like a private company, more private loans that were given out. I
Mm-hmm.
can understand how a base of people who are pro business wouldn't like that, and they say, "Oh, you're messing up our profits." We gave out these loans. Da, da, da. I get that, but the kind of like 100% completely cape for governmental loans that were given out and forgiven by the government. What's the benefit of that?
Well, I think it's personally, it's my opinion. Like I said, for Joe Biden, I think this is his version of Trump's wall, right? So Donald Trump said he was going to build a wall, and he put up a couple pieces of 2x4s, and we got a wall, right? So
Mm-hmm.
in for Joe Biden and the Democrats, this is his version of that.
Yeah, I get that, but
Like,
what's
that's
the
all it is.
so why would someone complain about the government giving out loans and forgiving their own loans?
Well, not all of them were. So a
It's
couple
not
years
all of them,
ago,
but like it has to be like, I don't know what that percentage is, but it's probably a lot.
well,
It's
the
more
dollar
government loans
amount,
than private loans.
yeah, the dollar amount has it's increased because years ago, the government basically converted certain private loans to government loans.
Mm-hmm.
So they took on a large portion of that. Um, but I think what you're trying to say is, or I think what you're getting at, which I might be understanding because this drink I got. Um, there's people who feel like, okay, let me say this: the pushback that I saw came from people who paid their way through college or paid their way through whatever they went through,
Like in
right? So
1960s,
no, like recently,
college like
like
$1,500 a year.
people who put their kids through college. Because one of the like there was somebody who like actually approached Elizabeth Warren like, "Yo, this is cool and all, but what about my daughter, who I've been working doubles for the last however many years to make sure she can go through college without debt, and then you're just gonna pay off their debt." I'm not saying I'm agreeing with him. I'm just telling you this is what he told Senator Warren
Mm-hmm.
specifically. And so I understand why somebody would feel that way. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna bite the bullet and I'm gonna do things in their eyes, they would see it as like the right way, right? I'm not gonna owe nobody. I'm gonna just like no debt, whatever. I'm gonna just do what I can to make sure this gets done and paid for. And then it's like, well, I didn't even have to do that then if you were just gonna pay it off.
See,
So
I don't agree.
the majority of the pushback that I saw came from people who were speaking like that. That was usually like especially on Twitter. That was usually like the pushback was, well, I worked and paid myself through college. I didn't have to do that if you were just going to pay for it.
I don't think a person who exhibits a certain amount of discipline of doing whatever they need to do. I think the reward is in you doing it. That same person wouldn't have went any other direction. Um, it's I don't know. I don't. I that's not something that I would complain about. Maybe because sometimes you just got to mind your own business. You got to mind your own business and your own discipline. If you have the discipline to get up and eat well and exercise and maybe you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, you go exercise before work, and you have healthy balanced meals, and you're gonna look at the other person who doesn't do that and say, man, I did all this and this and this because I wanted a healthy life, and they just didn't do anything, and now we're both 50, 60, 70 years old. I didn't have to do none of that. Like, what type of person are you to even make that type of that type of argument?
I mean, a lot of people feel that way because they feel like they were pressured into something. And again, I'm not
No,
saying my views align with them.
I'm just saying out loud.
That's where it comes from.
It's just
It comes from doing something you didn't know that you didn't have to do.
yeah, but you would do it anyway.
That's not true because there are a lot of things that I paid for that I later found out that were like free that I was highly upset about.
This whole time it was free.
Like highly. A couple. Well, I didn't pay for these. I got this stuff free, but just in general, like there's definitely stuff that I've paid for or put energy into, only to later find out it was just widely available.
I mean, you're talking about more so like making a payment, and I'm more talking about developing a discipline. So somebody, just
Yeah,
on
of
your
course,
example, if
of
somebody's
course.
saying, I worked doubles, I saved, I didn't splurge.
Yeah,
To
but
me,
why did
that's
they do? You have to
that's
ask why did
discipline.
they do that? Yeah, but you have to ask why did they do that?
I don't foresee, or I can't assume that somebody's discipline only lives in that area of their life. For me, that person is most likely a disciplined person in their whole lives. So, it's I don't see like, oh, I wouldn't have been disciplined on paying off my student loans. I wouldn't have been disciplined on working on my health. I wouldn't have been disciplined on going to work every day if I knew I didn't have to go to work, or I didn't have to work out, or I didn't have to pay my student loan. That type of
Let me
person
point.
is disciplined in everything they do.
That's not true.
So
Let me point something out to you.
it's more likely.
Let me point something out to you that I think why they're really upset. I think this is why they're really upset. Okay. So if you knew you had to send your kid to school and it costs, I don't know, say $20,000 or whatever per per year. Let's just make it simple.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got $20,000 coming out of your income that's going to cover school expenses.
Mm-hmm.
That we don't even have to go that far. Let's make it 10. Make it 10,000. Now that means, depending on who your living situation, you likely had to give up things that you wanted to do for yourself
Mm-hmm.
in order to make that happen. So what they're really saying is, I couldn't get my boat because I sent my kid to school, and now you paying for this stuff means I could have got my boat this whole time. That's what it means.
Maybe I would have been a dinghy for $10,000, but it would have been. You gotta get in a shrimp boat,
It's been a floaty,
right? A blow up boat.
You know how
That's
many
my
Air
next
Jordans I could have bought in the last 4 years? Could have had all of them. 1 to 37. I could have had
right.
all of
Someone. For me, that sounds like
them.
someone didn't value the money they put into their education or into their
They don't.
children anyway. And this is going to be interesting because this same argument is going to happen when the same argument is happening when you talk about reparations. When you give money that and this you know that's owed or promised or earned to someone else, and another section of people don't get the money, there's always going to be a issue. So I don't know what. And so my thing is, what's the ask? What's the ask for people who complain? Because there always has to be an ask. So if you say I'm complaining because I didn't have to pay off the $10,000 or I didn't have to work for it, whatever it is, what's your ask? Are they saying also cut me a $10,000 check, or
Yeah,
every American should have a 10,000? Is that the rest of the argument? Because I haven't
yeah,
seen it.
yeah. That's been the discussion. It's like, what about my daughter?
Hmm.
Or
So
what
it's like,
about
what
my son? What are
what
you
can
gonna
I
do for
get?
them? Yeah, what are you gonna do for them if you gonna do this
See, now this is
for
interesting.
others?
So this is a handout argument. Like, oh, it's a handout, and who's going to pay for it? But it's really the argument of where's mine at? What do I get? So it's almost buried behind, oh, the national debt. It's a handout, but really, it's what do I get? I see they're getting that, but what do I get?
Yeah.
So I mean, I can respect that type of argument, but don't bury it in oh, it's the national debt. Who's going to pay for it? The tax dollars got to pay for
Nah, I
it.
think those are more so like talking points for certain people.
But
I
people
think
pick
people
them
who
up. They pick up these talking points all the time.
no, they do.
Instead
You're
of just
right.
saying what it really is, like if you're
You're
going to
right.
give them money, I need money. If you're going to do X, Y, and Z for them, I want the X, Y, and Z. And if we had those type of conversations and not like these fake um, like virtue signaling conversations where it's I did this, this, and this, and this, and okay, good, great job. What do you really want though? What's your ask?
I
If
think
we
they
can get to
want.
that, then we can
I
we
think
we,
they
we
want
might
ten
have real
thousand.
conversations. I think they want 10,000 too. And then there's never no question of who's going to pay for it or
Yeah.
the national debt. It's just like I want 10,000 too.
I mean, I kind of feel them, but the only point where I feel them is in the I didn't if I didn't have to pay for this, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And so I definitely feel that. Like if especially depending on like where you went to school, because even like my sister, like she has student loans, but she also worked and paid her way through school,
Hmm.
and it's just interesting, like how I know everybody's life is different, but it is interesting how like for some people they're able to just do that,
You
and for
talking about
others,
the discipline,
yeah, and for others it's not even
and that
so,
makes my example. I know the listeners don't know your sister, but she's very disciplined. Her and her husband are very disciplined in everything they do, from what I can see from outside. They saved
oh
up
no,
money.
I was actually talking about my older sister.
Oh, okay,
My
okay, okay.
I don't even think Phoenix is never my younger sister. She's never taken out.
Taking what?
They're completely like her husband doesn't believe in debt to that standard.
Yeah. So I
To
mean
that,
that
yeah.
just talks about certain discipline and ideologies when it comes to finance. Um, but
And they just bought another house, so shout out them.
yeah, it's
But
dope. I think
um,
I don't know. It's just interesting. What I haven't heard no complaints about is the income caps on on who's getting his money. Now the internet says everybody's completely rich, but no one said, "Yo, you need to raise this income cap because we getting too much money over here. We made money in the pandemic, and I need you to, I need you to raise that.
the
I need you to,
pandemic, yo, that
these
was
are
definitely
horrible.
like
That was
that was
the
top five cringiest things that come out of the
top
pandemic.
five, top five,
Definitely
top five.
the
Yeah, talking about
pandemic.
money over people, 100%. Um, so that's what I thought was interesting. In a social media world where everyone's completely rich, everyone's like, well, I mean, the income limit's 125,000 if you're single, 250,000 if you're married, and you can
Oh,
get
I
your
didn't.
ten
I didn't even
thousand.
know that.
Yeah, if you're
I didn't
married,
know
it's
that.
two
Oh,
hundred up to 250,000, and
okay.
it's like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, you can get your $10,000 forgiven. No complaints
Yeah.
about that, but everyone's balling out of
Um,
control.
because everybody makes less than $125,000.
Well,
If
we
that was
know
the
what
case,
the
there'd be
numbers
no
is.
loan forgiveness. Yeah,
That
there'd be no
that's
loan
that's
forgiveness.
that's the point I'm making. Like there was no outrage about the income caps on the loan forgiveness. Everyone was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I wish it was more, but I'll take the 10." You
I
know?
wonder. I wonder if you're self-employed and you W-2 yourself. I wonder if you would still qualify.
For what you talking about the forgiveness?
Yeah, say you W-2 yourself at like 9,600 or 96,000 a year,
Hmm.
but you might have a quarter million, 300,000 in net income.
Right, I get what you're saying. So payroll, my payroll
Yeah,
is underneath. I don't know. I'm sure someone has already figured that out, like you
yeah.
just
I'm
did.
gonna make some phone calls. I'm gonna see if I'm gonna see if somebody did that because that'd be interesting. That'd be interesting, like to if that were the case. Because if you
Hmm.
W-2 under 125, you qualify, right?
I would assume. I would assume yes. I would assume you do, but I also would assume that when they looked at the debt, who held the debt, they probably assumed that those was mostly W-2 workers without businesses. And I'm just pulling this out my ass, but if you know the balance sheet, if you're looking at who owns what, you kind of know where they work, right? You know where they work, you know where they live. You should know all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it'll be interesting to know the data between people who were W-2'd or people who were 1099 or business owners or whatever. It'd be interesting. So I'm almost sure that was part of the conversation when they figuring about how much they would forgive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean
but I thought that was interesting.
it's still a big talking point online because um, people have been like retweeting the White House every day. Um, but but for me, it's not a big deal. Honestly, it's not a big deal because again, Biden, that was part of his campaign.
Yeah,
So
I
so you knew
mean,
that before you even elected him, you knew that this was something that even if it wasn't at the forefront of his message, it was buried in whatever else he had going on because they stole it from Bernie or whoever it came from.
hmm
Um, I still think like we knew this was gonna happen.
yeah, you just didn't know which
You know what I
which
mean?
amount they were. He wasn't gonna get out of his 4 years without doing something. And they kind of like tiptoed around it, like kind of moving out the date when you actually can pay on the loan or extending um, the forbearance on those loans.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's out to like December now or January, one of them, on when you can
Did
pay
you did you see that like somebody started a rumor that they were just gonna send a check?
just straight to the house.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm gonna send you that thread.
it's like,
That definitely changes your perspective. Like,
what, the check came to the house?
yeah, they were like, I'm not paying off no loans. I'm going to Tulum.
Why don't they just send it to themselves? Like they hold the note. Like just you can just
Well,
scratch it
that's
off your books.
it's a basically a credit. From my understanding, it's like a credit. So if
I
you
mean, they
even
would
if you
just
owe
debit the
like
account. Seems like it.
if you owe like 6,500, they'll just pay off your loans
Wait, who?
and keep the remaining balance.
You talking about the 10?
Yeah, I'm just like it's a credit up to 10,000. So even
Right.
if you don't owe 10,000, you're not getting like the remaining balance. Like they're gonna they're gonna cover whatever it is you owe up to 10 grand.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
But somebody sparked the rumor that Biden was sending checks home for 10,000 apiece, and Twitter definitely had fun with that. Like,
yeah, like what they gonna do with it?
yeah,
And
it wasn't going to no student loans.
Yeah, but I mean, some good things came down that benefited. Even my bro, I remember he went to either DeVry, one of those online schools when he was like 18 or something, and they were giving like 18-year-olds, you know, $30,000-$40,000 to borrow to go to school, which is just, I don't know, it's just
So
sickening.
was that a government loan?
Those are
Or was that
government loans
private?
too. Those are government backed loans too.
That's
The government was in
crazy.
everything. So those, I mean, it just came down the line that they were going to they're forgiving those loans too, because those companies are now, those schools companies are out of business now, because they lost their accreditation, or they were bull to begin with.
That's crazy.
So a lot of that stuff is getting forgiven. Like the IT, I think he went to ITT or DeVry, one of them. But a lot of those schools that are no longer here and went bankrupt or disappeared, they had government loans to send kids to school. So I mean, that's being forgiven. So um, I don't know. I'm a huge proponent of picking up everything that benefits you or the close people around you, and keep it moving.
See, but now I kind of feel like I should have went to school.
To get your loans forgiven 15 years later.
Because part of the whole reason why it was like I'm not gonna. Well, first of all, let me, you know, I wasn't qualified to go to a lot of places. Not because, not because like I wasn't smart enough, but because um, like it's my scores. It was interesting if you looked at my high school transcripts. Like I had the worst grades, but my test scores were like 1 and 2 throughout the whole entire like county, and I
Mm-hmm.
think I was like top 50 or top 100 in the state. But
Mm-hmm.
the issue was I learned how to make money in school,
Mm-hmm.
and which of course with you, right? So I didn't do no work in school because I figured out I can make money while I'm at school, and so there's no point in doing homework because I'm already making money.
Yeah, I think that was a little short-sighted.
Definitely, but
uh,
I'm only saying that because I'm drinking, but I probably would have went if I'd have known I didn't have to pay for it.
I think I would have went if I would have considered the networking opportunities of having a
That too.
class of 4 or 5 years, or alumni networking opportunity even after school.
Hmm.
I think I would have went um, or finished. I started several times,
Yeah,
but
no,
yeah, I
that's
just ended
that's
up
something.
being, you know,
I think we talked
doing.
about that before, but that's something that definitely like I didn't realize was a thing until I got older and got around more professionals and realized like how tapped in they are to their alma mater
Right, right. I
and the
mean,
alumni.
it has to be said that $10,000 is still like, you know, the tip of the iceberg. I mean, it's what is it, 20 or 30,000 a year on average to go to college.
I don't even. I wouldn't know.
So
I should
it's
know, but I don't know.
it's it's not it's not a lot. It's not a lot. I mean, um, I think Jazz got her undergrad or secondary, her master's degree. I think is like 20,000,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is much cheaper than your undergrad
Yeah,
degree. It's like
yeah.
I think on average, like just say 20,000 a year. So you're still looking at 80,000 for college. And then unless you do like 2 years at a community college, and then another 2 years in a university or
And
Cal State.
I think from like the reason why, and this is why having, like, to me, this is why having like the right influences. Well, it kind of doesn't matter because kids are gonna grow up to be, or they're gonna do what they want to do until it makes sense to them. But the whole point that we were, because we kind of grew up in that era of like where they were really pushing us in that like higher education.
Yeah, 100%.
You know,
I was
it
an I
was
was an
definitely a
Avid,
thing.
which was
Yeah,
made to have you qualify and make it to college.
exactly. So we grew up in the Dare era, right? The war on drugs, Dare, and like go to college. Everything was,
Yeah,
every time you turned around, it was go to college. You're not going to be nothing
yeah.
unless you go to college.
I just
Um,
wish it was an asterisk um, with go to college for the right course or the right career.
yeah, or just,
Um,
but it's hard. It's hard to do that when you are, when in many cases, many of us are first generation. So it's like my parents didn't go to college; they went to like trade school. But
mhm.
my older sister went. She graduated from UCR and she graduated from National University. So for like in from their perspective, that's kind of like, that's beyond what they did. So for them, that's like that's a big deal.
Yeah,
But and we were kind of thrown into the, like, that was the theme of our youth, was that's what you're supposed to do.
hmm
That was like the underwritten um, you know theme of popular culture at the time. Like, you had to go to college, no matter what. You had to go to college. You had to go to college. Um, and if you didn't go to college, it was probably because, if you look at a lot of the stuff that was going on, like with the Dare program, they tried to like throw that in there. Like, you're not going to college. You're just going to be at home. You're going to turn into this
right.
type
If
of
you yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah. I can see that. I can see that.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I think like, I'm only saying this because of what you just said about how you wish you would have known better, or I had more information about like the alumni
hmm
and how that could benefit you. But think about what we were fighting against in order to get to that point of understanding. Like, we were fighting against all that propaganda to get to
Yeah,
a point of understanding of what it could actually be for you.
yeah. I mean, even the
And
propaganda. I think about the propaganda of you know, young black kids don't make it past 21. Like they push that a lot. They push that so much.
hmm
They push it so much, and I think even though I wasn't in complete mortal danger, like at all times, I think it was still like in the back of my head, like, well, if I can make it to 21, you'd be all right. It was like it was it was propaganda. It was in the music. It was a lot of people around us wasn't really living that long.
hmm
Um, for all type of reasons, rather gun violence or car crashes, all kind of stuff, So I think that was in your head too, where it's like, I may not be here. So if you're like 16, 17, they're talking about pushing you to go to college, and then you're also hearing all the propaganda about you might not even live that long anyway. I think in some cases you do start living day to day, moment to moment, birthday to birthday, and kind of like just being okay that you're just excited that you're still alive. And
it's
now,
crazy though when you like hearing you say it out loud. That's crazy. It's
yeah,
crazy that as a teenager that like, this is your brain.
yeah, and
These are
and I
these are your thoughts.
yeah, and I didn't I didn't translate it at that time as that, but I was just like, it was just a thing, you know. It's like it's more like the sky is blue. It was like a fact. It was a fact
Mm-hmm.
that you just didn't think about as propaganda or something that would hinder you or you know hold you back from thinking long term. Um, Now, I have to say the other part of that is also wasn't disciplined and committed enough to finish college at that time because my head was also in other places. With business and having fun in some cases. So, I
A lot
want
of
to
fun.
I won't put the the brunt of it on propaganda outside sources. So yeah, but yeah,
No,
you
I
start getting
think
paid a little bit too early and was like, hey, if I can just keep this up, you know, you getting
because
like loan forgiveness checks, at 18, 19.
I don't
You
remember.
thinking
Like
this?
I'm thinking back. Like I'm trying to think back to like that like 17, 18 year old like me. And outside of like our parents, I can't think of anyone that we knew. Now I guess it would be weird to know somebody who was like, over 30 when you're a teenager. Um, but I'm like, I can't really think of anybody I knew that I could point to and say like I should stop thinking the way I do so I can be like him or be like them.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. There's nothing
And
right.
because I feel like everyone, regardless of age, I feel like everyone who was around us kind of thought or like existed in the same flow of
So,
this is what we do.
so I have a question for you now. You
Mm-hmm.
said at 18, 19, you didn't have anybody, this 30 something, to say, hey, I want to be like that person. Um,
Okay.
so
Yeah, go ahead.
that's my question.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, as a 30 something person now, have you had any thought to talk to an 18, 19-year old about, you know, staying on the right track or any message you want to impart to them or give them or
Yeah,
um,
all the time. I all the time. I'm like, I wish I had a better relationship with my teachers,
mhm.
so that way I can, there's a few teachers who I'm cool with, but so I can actually go into the classroom.
Yeah, so my thing is, um, what does it look like for you now at your age to reach back and reach into people, some who's 18, 19, 16, 17, 18, 19, coming up to say, hey, um, you might want to try to do it this way, or give some type of information. What does
You
that
saying
look like?
what does it look like?
Because it basically takes somebody, let's say going back 20 years ago, somebody like you in your position now to do it
Mm-hmm.
now. That's why they weren't around, because people like us in our current age didn't reach back.
Well, and it's kind of like I said, it's kind of weird to be around teenagers when you're 35 years old, especially in today's time.
Well, I think it was the same then. It's like you think about it, the way we thought about ourselves or the way we presented ourselves. I can see an adult 35-year-old like, I ain't about to go hang out like every other weekend. Like, we might be going to parties and the party getting shot up. Like, if I'm a 35-year-old in early 2000s, I ain't going to hang out with them, teach them anything.
Nah, I mean,
So
I'm
I can see
I'm
that's
more
a
so
thought for
talking
people
about
though.
I'm more so talking about people who just exist in your life that you may not be able to like you may not be able to like talk to them directly or ask them directly, but they're just a person who exists in your life that you can see is doing something that
Hmm.
you should probably be doing.
Right, right.
Now, I'm not saying that that person didn't exist. I'm almost 100% sure that person existed. I was just too young and ignorant to recognize it. But I was just saying, like thinking back, I can't think of anyone that was that guy.
No, I get it. I get it.
You know what I
I
mean?
just thought I would ask a question, like, you
But
know.
I would definitely be down to do it. It would just have to be right. But now, like the kids now, they like, everything's digital. So doing that, it would have to be in the form of, I could do that from here. You know what I mean? That could be a online video or
Yeah.
something.
Right. Well, I
Um,
mean, you kind of do. I mean, you kind of get the podcast, you know.
exactly.
I mean, you can drive up, roll up to the high school, and just yell out richbymonday.com. You know.
But whenever I do see somebody, like if I interact with somebody who's younger than or even just younger than me, period, or anyone, period,
Yeah.
like just in traffic, I always try to figure out what they do, why they're doing it, and have like a real discussion,
Yeah.
with that person. Like I met a little kid. He was like 12 years old. He was selling earrings outside of the post office,
Mm-hmm.
and he had his earrings that he made somehow out of like wood, and he
Mm-hmm.
packaged them up, and he had a website, which is crazy. He had a website, and he was outside with his board, and all the earrings were like tacked on the board,
Right.
and you could pick which ones you want. And he was up there like with his uncle or something,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, man, because I don't really, I feel like now it's no reason to carry cash, not like large amounts of cash.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have no cash. So I'm like, I want to buy something, but how can I pay you? Can I like cash app you or
He's like, we
something?
got Cash App, we got Venmo.
And he pulled out the little square thing
Yep.
that you like put on the phone.
Uh-huh.
So it's seeing stuff like that is like, okay, like you remind me of myself when I was younger, because I know if that was the case when we were younger, we definitely would have had that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
definitely would have been swiping cards on my phone for
Mm-hmm.
painted shoes and whatever.
Yeah. We can take payment
you
right
know?
now.
um, so I always try to like leave them. I try to just talk to them really, because I feel like a lot of people don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of everything else, like I just feel like a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't spend time talking to other people to figure out what they're doing, why they're doing it, and if there's
Yeah.
something you can kind of leave them with, you know.
Yeah. I think we just get caught up in everyday life, you know, trying to run a business. And I'm trying to make it, I was making my schedule for September earlier, and I'm just plugging in different things where I can be intentional with going certain places. Um, if it's to network or plug in and community engagement and make it more intentional. Because it's always in the back, man. Like, oh, I would like to do that, but it's not on the schedule. It's not a break. So
Mm-hmm.
it's about scheduling those things out and making it a priority. And so that's kind of what I've been working on um, lately.
Let me ask you a question, kind of in the same vein of everything we talking about. Something I thought about. So recently, I'm always looking, but recently I've been putting a lot of time into looking at like buying a business,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I had the thought. I asked Vita the other day, and I was like, "Would you, instead of sending your child to to in the workforce, which there are benefits for, um, but instead of sending them in the workforce, would you buy them a job, basically?
Mm-hmm.
Like, would you buy a business that they can work at?"
That's a question to me.
Yes, I'm asking.
Oh. You said you had talked to Vita, and I'm like, okay, what'd
Listen,
she say? I was like, what'd she say?
I'm struggling right now. Okay, you got, you got, you got to help me out.
Okay, I'll pick it up. I'll pick it up. I'll pick up the cues. I'll pick up what you're putting down.
So, how do you feel about that? Like, is that something that you would do? Like, would you buy a business instead
uh,
of them getting a job, like to go make $16 an hour somewhere?
mm-hmm.
Would you buy a business and then just have them work there,
uh, that's a nepotism
or would you
question.
would you consider that?
Um, I would consider it. Um, it's tough to for me. What comes to mind is would my child want to do this? Is that what they want to do? Right? Let's say you buy
Mm-hmm.
a coin operated laundry business, and their job is to, I don't know, pick up. Well, this in this case it would be easy. Um, I don't know. Go just say they go in and they repair the machines,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what their job is to do, and make sure everything's running good. Um, my first thought is, if would they want to do that, um, or do I want to give them a choice in what they want to do to make some extra money, to pay their way through college, and they don't have to take loan forgiveness. They can feel
Yeah, but
proud about be proud about themselves. No,
so
but
to add context, okay, I'm talking about like on some like first like you like 15, 16 years old, like summer
uh,
job. Not really so much like going into adulthood yet, but just
right.
kind of in that space where like they can enter the workforce. So would you consider sending them out to work at like a Taco Bell or something, or just buying a cheap little business they can
I
work
would
at.
I would consider it, right. Uh, but my thought my thought is they might not be interested in doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent the money and the effort to do that, and then they don't want to do that. Same thing when I think about my own business, running my own businesses, and my thought was, yeah, my kids can take the business over, and we can work side by side, and they can grow it more. And then I just start thinking. Recently, I talked about this before. Like, what if they just don't want to do that? What if this is it's not their calling? Um, what if they do want to be a cook, or a chef or something, and they want to get their feet wet by working at Chipotle, or taking a apprenticeship with, I don't know, some other business owner I know that owns a restaurant. Maybe they want to be a restaurant. What is it, a restaurateur?
Restaurant
Uh,
tour.
yeah, maybe they want to do that. So I don't know. It. So I guess the answer, if the business is in line with what they want to do at that time, I would be all for it. Um, if it's for them, right? Now, if it's for me and I'm buying a business, just a cash business that makes money,
That's what I'm saying. Like
generates a good
you're
amount of
buying
income, and then I just
you're
plug
buying
them
a
in there, and I just plug them in there, like, yeah, now it's for me though. So I'm like, like, look, I bought this business for me, for the family, for whatever, to generate more income. But if you want a job, you can work here. So yeah, to answer your question, I would do that, but it wouldn't be for them. It benefits them, but I wouldn't do it for them, if
okay.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because when you do something for someone, that means you have an intention for them on how they should receive it. And I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
be mad at my kids. I'm like, yo, I did this and this, and you didn't,
Yeah, I did this for you, and
you
yeah.
didn't, you didn't appreciate it. You didn't work. You quit the first month, and then I'm disappointed in my kid, and I don't want to start that type of relationship of expecting something from them based on my plans for them, and not just plans for myself, and I plug them in. But yeah, I think that's in generally a good idea to have a business that generates income, and you can just kind of plug your kid in. Yeah, I wish I had that. I probably wouldn't have been doing all the random stuff I was doing. Actually, I didn't have a whole lot of time to do too many things. I think I worked at like UPS for like
You worked at
maybe a
UPS?
month. Yes, I worked there like a month.
I I can't I
I
can't.
worked there a month, and
I
I
can
was
see them be like, "Yo, Dorance, I need you to throw these boxes on the truck," and you just being like, "You know what? Y'all
man.
figure that out."
I was in that truck, and that conveyor belt come down, and all them boxes, and I'm skinnier than I am now at that point. So I'm just like,
I
yo,
can
I
I
can't.
can see you being like, "Y'all figure this out. I'm out."
I was like, I can't. I'm not built for this. Um, and I was there maybe 3 weeks. I basically got the check from training,
That's
and
funny.
it was like a 2 week training or something like that. And I took that check, and I was like, it was probably like $100, and I was like, yeah, I'm out. And then that's when I went to get my real estate license. Maybe like 3 months after that. So I didn't have a whole lot of time to try different things. Um, and really, when I left high school, I already knew what I wanted to do. So It was more like I was trying to make some money in the meantime
Mm-hmm.
until I did what I wanted to do. So
Now,
yeah, I would say it would be nice.
the reason why I asked that is because, like I said, I'm always just looking, but I saw a business for sale the other day. I think it actually sold too. It was a little like they have like the I forgot what they call them, but it's like a little like mailbox store where you can like rent like a mailbox and all that, and
Yeah.
they sell like postage items and stuff like that.
Right.
And it was for sale for like 50 grand,
It's not bad.
and
You gonna make that
seller
up on just
discretionary
selling faxes. Like they charge you like
seller
$3 a
discretionary
page.
cash was it was like 70,000. It was 70. So seller discretionary cash is what is basically what the owner of, for the listener, what the owner of the business gets. So when you buy a business, you are paying a multiple on what they call SDC, seller's discretionary cash. So it's basically the money left over after all expenses and payroll and etc. And I think it was for sale. It was for sale for like 55 grand, and seller discretionary cash was 74,000 if it's owner operated.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, that's a nice little business.
Yeah.
It was
So
kind
you
of far
saying
from where we are, but I'm like, that's a nice little, you know what I mean? Like, do you just throw your kid in there to be like, hey, go sit in this shop for 8 hours?
yeah. Right. Yeah, it's not
you
bad at
know,
all.
and
Yeah, that makes
you'll probably
sense.
take home 3 grand, just net and completely absentee.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not doing anything. Um, I don't know how you would get out of that business. It might be a little difficult, but just seeing stuff like that, I'm just starting to think differently. Like even in regards to because of course we're real estate professionals,
Mm-hmm.
um, and a big goal of mine is to own an apartment building, but at the same time, like I understand how business works because really an apartment building is a business, especially if you have management.
Mm-hmm.
So there's revenue and then there's expenses and there's net income and there's debt.
Yep.
Same with any other business. But if I wanted to make 30 grand on a property, I'd have to borrow upwards of $1 million, depending on where I'm at.
Right.
I could buy a 6 unit building for like $1.2 million, and that would net me 30 grand. Whereas, in that same vein, I can just go buy a $60,000 business and probably net 50 or 60 grand
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
without having to borrow $1 million.
Yeah,
You
I
know what I
mean,
mean?
yeah,
So
that's sound. That's sound thinking.
So I'm really kind of in that lane of just picking up income,
Mm-hmm.
and I've
Maybe
been
maybe that's the
I've
maybe that's
been
the retirement plan. A part of the retirement plan.
retiring. I'm talking about now, like
No, I don't know. I'm saying in
these,
general, like
like these bills
because
is
you
due next month.
well, right. Hey, you got to tell me that. The first is coming up, and I'm just like, all right, here's another month. Let's go. Let's do it again. The bills
um,
coming back fast. It's like
but no, on a serious note,
I feel
like
like I'm paying
that's
some of these bills twice a month.
it's it kind of makes more, especially right now. I'm like, it kind of makes more sense if I can, like, if you can go out and buy, if you have decent credit, right, and depending on how you go about acquiring the business, because you can get SBA financing and that'll cover the purchase.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that I think with like 10% down, but I think that has a lot to do with your net worth. So, like, you can't borrow more than your net worth or something like that.
Okay,
Um,
I don't know how it works.
it's something because I was actually talking to Sean about it not long ago, a couple months ago, on a laundromat that I seen it was on sale for like, or it was for sale for like 300K, and I think
Mm-hmm.
seller discretionary cash was um, like 250 or somewhere around there. Um, but I'm just thinking like it might make more sense if you're someone who is interested in business ownership rather than trying to be like a serial entrepreneur and launching all these new products. It might make more sense to leverage your way into an existing business, even if it's small, right? It could be a smoke shop, it could be a liquor store, it could be a mail. I always forget what they're called, but like that
Like a mail
mailbox
annex, I think.
store. Yeah,
I don't know.
it could be anything. It could be a nail shop. It could be all these things because the difference is people always assume. The interesting thing is people assume the people who work there don't make money, right? That they don't make
Mhm.
enough money. So if you buy a nail shop, you're thinking, oh, well, why would I buy a nail shop if the nail techs don't work? They don't make any money. But when you own the business, you get a thing called revenue.
Mhm.
And you don't have to take any splits. Whatever's left over is yours. Just like as a real estate broker, if as an agent, because I don't have a broker's license, I have to split my commission with a broker, right?
Mhm.
Dorance is a broker. He doesn't get to split his commission with anybody else. His commission goes all to him. So
And the
I'm thinking
government.
about it in that sense. Yeah, that too. Um, I'm thinking about it in that sense. Like buying a property, of course, will always be that'll always be there. But picking up little $40,000 and $50,000 businesses here and there, like that, that's a pretty sound. Now it's easier said than done, but that's a pretty sound way to go about things as well.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I thought about it as in retirement, so I can retire from sales. In general. I'm like this is my
Yeah,
way out. This is my way out. Uh, which is a normal thought when you've been in sales for so long. It's always like
yeah.
I'm
You
leaving.
quit like twice a week.
I'm getting out of here.
if
This is it for me.
if you ain't quitting twice a week, you're not making
Right.
enough phone calls.
Yeah, you're not getting enough no's.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Speaking of that, I was looking at a off topic, on topic. It was a guy who does interviews, and he goes from place to place, and he basically asks people. You go to like affluent areas and asks people what they do and how much they make. And he ran to a commercial real estate broker, and he was like, "Oh, what's your net worth?" And I think he said like 2 or 3 million. No, it was 4 million. How much do you make a year? He was like between 4 and 500,000. And he's like, do you have any advice for the people? He's like, well, if you're going to commercial real estate, if you're not making calls, you're not in the business. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
you got to make a lot of calls. It's like if you're making the calls, you do well. If you're not making calls, you're not going to do well. And he's just like that's with any sales position. If you're not reaching out to people who want the service or your product, you're not going to make any money. And I've heard somebody say before, the biggest reason why businesses go out of why companies go out of business is because they don't have enough customers. And you always think like, oh, well, they didn't have the right marketing plan, they didn't have the right logo, they didn't. But no, most businesses go out of most companies go out of business because they don't have enough customers. Period. And
Mm-hmm.
so I thought about that when you said I forgot what you said.
Talking to you like every episode, like, and I'm the
Right,
one who
right. I'm just
who's doing
I'm just
this.
sober now. I also want to put this on record. Every time we do a podcast, a late show, I'm always like aloof and low key. My voice probably even sound different. Like like I got my sleepy time bed voice on. But yeah, tell me in the comments. Am I more? less aloof in the night time podcast, or
Aloof. We're like, where'd you find that word? What is, what
you
is
know,
aloof?
aloof.
Nah, man.
It's um, like kind of like disconnected from yourself. I guess I can
Oh,
explain it that way. Um, but not not focused, not well focused, not dialed in, that type of thing.
okay, that makes sense.
Um, but look, I'm about to say it again. What was I talking about? What was I talking about? Man, granddaddy is cigar.
Every episode, I gotta make a clip. I have to
Right.
clip this up. I got
Clipping like,
because
what was I talking about?
this it dates back to like episode like 5. Uh, like it's so I'm pretty sure I can get at least a good minute. I can make a reel out of all the times you forgot.
Right. Where was I going with that?
um,
Put that on a shirt.
you you
I
make
don't
me
know why I
forget.
said that. Where was I going with that? What was we talking about?
But
uh,
yes, I mean,
anyway,
nah, I
we're talking
forgot.
about.
God damn.
I faked it out. I was gonna start it and say, "Well, we was talking about," and I thought you was gonna pick it up, so I wouldn't have to.
No, now you ruined it. You ruined the show.
It's all
You ruined the
ruined.
whole show.
It's all
Show's
ruined.
ruined. But an article I read today, that I noticed today, because they're still trying to talk us into this recession.
Mhm.
Um, was it said that a few banks, they didn't say how many, but these are non-lender banks, so these are banks who aren't a part of like the like the larger group of banks, or really it's like two large banks,
Mhm.
but they're filing BK.
Which banks?
Well, one of them was like First Guarantee. That was one of them,
Mhm.
and there's a few. They named a few, but I don't know how many of those. They didn't give a number, right?
Mhm.
Um, but I definitely could see some truth in the article. I mean, it was from Bloomberg. Like,
Mhm.
they're not going to put out a fake article, but I mean, they might embellish, but they're not going to put out a fake article.
Mhm.
Um, and the reason being is because, of course, these are non-lender banks, so these are independent banks, right? They have their own money,
Okay.
um, and they filed BK because rates went up recently, and they couldn't originate new loans fast enough to pair them with bonds to sell them.
Mhm.
So they're holding current loans on their books longer than they would like to,
Mhm. Okay.
right? So they can't turn that capital fast enough because one, the existing loans that they had on their books are no longer worth what they were when they created the loans. So the way that they would be able to offset that is by creating new loans, packaging them with bonds,
And then sell
and
them off
then
again.
selling them. But they haven't been able to do that because rates going up. So they're filing bankruptcy.
That's interesting because that's how most banks kind of like repackage their loans and sell them off to secondary servicers all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think we go through like at least in 1 year, maybe two or three different lenders, two for sure,
Mm-hmm.
are mortgage holders. Um, so I wonder if that's going to be wonder if that's going to be a trend that trickles all the way down.
Yeah, it will be. It's gonna be. There's gonna be a lot of banks. I don't know, man. It's interesting times, but I always think back to what Warren Buffett said, and he's like, if you aren't confused about what's happening, then like you should be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's there's so many different variables, and because like the internet exists, it shrunk the world, and we're all connected in so many different ways to so many different things. So these things don't only exist in one area, and I think that's why it's hard to pinpoint what could be an actual problem,
Mm-hmm.
because there's problems in 1,000 areas. It's not a
Right.
housing problem. It's not a stock market problem. It's all those things. You know what I mean? It's everything all at the
Mm-hmm.
same time. Um, Even in Rolex watches, like there's guys who are offering me this. There's guys who are offering me watches that would have sold for like 120 grand last year.
Mm-hmm.
They're offering them to me today, which I don't know why, because I'm not spending that kind of money. But I
Mm-hmm.
just be in the right places. But
Mm-hmm.
they're offering them to me today for 65 grand.
Mm. Hmm.
So it's like the we can act like, and we can pretend that everything is fine. I don't think everything is fine, but I also don't think everything is like going up in flames. You know what I mean? Like I don't think tomorrow is going to be a day where everything goes up in flames. But there's definitely some things like going on to where it impacts everybody.
Is it possible that we're just experiencing um not just a slowdown, but a like a continuing like line, like we're so used to down all the way down, and now we went all the way up, and now we're just kind of like coasting. Are we just like
Yeah.
experiencing like the coast, and like everybody's like, what the why? Okay, it's not going up, it's not going down. It's
There's a
Are we
little bit
just
of that. There's a little
experiencing
bit of
just some
that.
consistency and nothingness, like nothing happening,
Yeah.
and everybody's
I,
like,
I
what
think
the
there's a
heck?
little bit of that. But I
What the
also
heck?
think, like, I was talking to Sean. Shout out Sean, Contrarians podcast.
Yeah, shout out.
I was talking to Sean,
We need a new
and
episode.
yeah, we do. Um, and he'll be on the show eventually. He tried to convince us to do more than one show a week, because he wants to be a regular guest. Uh,
Yeah, take some pressure off of us.
um,
Yeah, which
but
actually, that's actually in the plans too. To have guests, we got to get some more equipment.
yeah,
We already got the studio. Just we got to get some more equipment, mics and
yeah, we'll get
stuff.
to that. We'll get to that. But
Yeah, do
I'm
that.
I'm what I'm trying to say is, you gonna make me act like you. What I'm trying to say is,
where,
uh,
where was I going with that?
now I don't know. I lost it.
You're talking about how
It's all your fault.
how they now you better blame Johnny Walker. You blame Johnny.
Um,
You talking
what was
about
talking
how
about?
he's talking about how the trend of like it's not going up, it's not going down, it's just
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
yeah. So we're
stagnant.
we're getting a
Stagnant
we're
is the
getting a lot
word.
of we're getting a lot of chop right now. But we talked about this last season. We had a whole episode where we kind of talked about how it could be like stagflation, like basically where things go
Hmm.
up and down, back and forth. Um, that's just, if you look at the 1970s, like we're in a similar position. But at the same
Hmm.
time, oh, here's what I meant to say. At the same time, when you look at like the stock market, there are signs of like catastrophe.
Hmm.
Like there's more than five. There's more than probably 10 stocks that were like, you know, that were in everybody's portfolio during COVID that have lost 70 to 80% of their value.
Hmm.
That's catastrophic.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? So that has happened already.
But
That's not
but
something that,
it's still in their portfolio though.
yes and no.
Catastrophic would be selling it off.
No, no, like they've gotten out.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Because the money, like the market cap is no longer there. So the only people who are there are institutions who, who held that or who are currently buying in now that it's appropriately priced or, at a metric that they, that they like. But even a company like Zoom is trading at $81 a share or something like that. At the peak
It was like 200 something.
Bro, it was $500 and something dollars.
Oh wow.
So you're talking about a company. You're talking about a company being worth hundreds of billions of dollars to now being worth like 20 billion. That's catastrophic. So we're experiencing things collectively. Like all these things are happening collectively, but it's not in the forefront. You know what I mean? Like it's not something that people are saying that they're impacted by. But the reality is, yes, you are. Because
you want to make some predictions?
No. No. It's the point. Like that's just one. That's just one. You know what I mean? Like there's more. There's plenty more. There's plenty more who were at that point and who are down that much. And it might not seem like that has an effect on people or on companies, but it does, because that's billions of dollars that no longer exist, and this company has been wiped out.
Yeah,
like the CEO is going to be fired. You know what I mean? Like it's it's going to be a lot of stuff that follows behind that. So yeah, sure, things may not be that bad. But at the same time, like that's kind of bad.
Yeah,
that is kind of bad. Like, so if we can say, I don't know. That's why I really believe we're recession-ish, because like I don't think we're at the point of tipping over right now. But there's signs. There's signs all around us. Like those things don't happen. They don't happen that way, unless it's unless there's a huge catalyst. You don't lose 80% of your market cap. It's not something that happens every day. That's catastrophic, bro. Like I need you to understand, like that's catastrophic. 80%. Just imagine if you had a portfolio, and I'm saying this because I know people who are like this, and I see them every day, and they post their new trades or their new new holdings or whatever, and I know how to do math really quickly. So if you post how much money you made that day, and then it shows a percentage, I know how to divide that number by the percentage and see how much money you actually
That reminded me of that Kanye skit. He said, pull your change out your pocket. I can add it up really fast. Really, really fast. That's what I thought about.
And it's not to be like pocket watching or nothing, as people would say. It's just, if I saw you a year ago and you were six figures, and then today you're at like 20,000, that's catastrophic for a normal person.
Yeah, it is.
And you just got to buy the dip.
Diamond hands.
Like what? That's catastrophic, bro. So there are things that are happening that kind of play into, yeah, sure, there's a lot of stuff that's bad, but then if it just doesn't feel like that is like the overall theme of like the current situation. Like, does that make sense?
Like the current the feeling,
like our current economic like standings.
Oh.
Because if you talk to people, if you really talk to people, you talk to experts, they'll tell you our economy is doing fine.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't tell them the opposite. I wouldn't tell them that. Who is this person supposed to scream out the window and say everything is bad? I don't think we'll ever get that type of um, message from our higher ups.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, some people are. There's a guy named there's a guy named Peter Schiff, and I like Peter. I like listening to him because he's funny. But I mean, he's predicted like 12 of the last two recessions.
Mm-hmm.
He every week is a new recession to him. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think people would, people do tell you, but I mean, even Jerome Powell, like the head of the Fed, recently came out and said there's going to be pain. Those are like his words. His words were there's going to be like people are going to be hurt. This is the chairman of the Fed.
I don't mean to choke, but that's just but it's I mean it's kind of like for me I'm just getting back to basics. Like I remember the last recession. I'm just like get back to basics. Like all right, you need to start focus on where your market's going to be, tighten it up, um, properly planning, marketing to a base who actually has funds, because yes, I believe it is going to get it's money is not as free flowing as it was just only 6 months ago, and I think there will be um, some
There's
tightening
no need
for
to. There's no
everyday
need to
people.
think. Like they're telling us.
Yeah,
The
well, we
Fed is
know.
telling. I mean, they've been telling us for the last 2 years. During the pandemic, that
Yeah,
it's going to be different. Things are going to be different in a couple of years.
yeah,
And so, okay. So, given that, because we're almost at time, but given that
yeah.
information, you sleepy?
The nighttime podcast.
Given that information, do you feel? Do you feel it was okay? I mean, I'm trying to word this properly.
Spit it out.
Do you feel that it's worth like the is the positive worth the negative? That's what I want to say in so many words. I don't know how to say it right now. Don't worry about it. But
Is
is
a
the
positive
positive worth the
what?
negative? Like if you were somebody who was making a whole bunch of money during the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you were what you were doing wasn't necessarily smart, but it was enough to make you money, right? And people tried to warn you and say this might not be the way. Is it
Mm-hmm.
worth doing that only to know you'll lose 2 years later?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if it was worth it to them or not. Um, but you know, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's if certain things kept you afloat in the middle of the pandemic that you did and that possibly wasn't 100% sound judgment. If it kept you going and kept you alive, um, it could be worth it. Um, because I think a lot of people were just doing short term things they had to do in order to survive, and I can't fault people for that. You know, um, in terms of uh, a lesson learned, I mean, it'll be a positive if they got the lesson and applied themselves, uh, in the future to do better. But I think that's an individual question for individual people. I don't know.
Okay, I
What do
wasn't
you?
prepared for that answer.
It's like I think you don't answer it in that way. Well, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, that's something I ask myself a lot. Just from going through what we went through, um,
Mm,
and and dealing with like the stuff we had to kind of go through, which a lot of it was self-inflicted when you
you
really
mean like
think about it.
downturn?
But yeah,
Talking about
because
talking
we
about
had a lot of fun.
last recession
Like we,
mistakes, or what are you talking
yeah,
about?
because I'm just saying we had a lot of fun, and we thought. Well, I'll say I don't want to say we. I don't know what everybody else was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of fun, and I thought we had it figured out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what I'm saying is, I'm asking that because, like, just thinking back to then, was it worth that? Was everything that happened back then worth the like the forthcoming lesson? Because
I would
once
say
the
I
forthcoming,
would say
like that lesson hit hard.
I would say yes, because I mean we have several podcasts where we're talking about what's going to happen because of that lesson we had.
Yeah, true.
We probably would have been in the middle of this with everybody else, like, yeah, let's get
By
let's
the
get this
way,
money, let's make it happen.
by the way, we've been right about everything, about everything that's happened. Okay, and I'm gonna make
Yeah.
clips, but we've been right about everything that's happened.
Well, it just, I mean, that comes from getting your lesson early. And people said that a long time ago, like, oh, you have time to mess up and you still can do it again.
I hated
And it was
that.
like I didn't understand what that meant. And then I always was like resentful of it, like I'm not gonna mess up. Like I know it. And I did it anyway. And just knowing certain things and just messing up anyway. Like, oh. Um, but I foresee, if I know me, there's gonna be plenty other mistakes in the future. Um,
Mhm.
so I'll just leave as they say, my future mistakes for future me. But I think so to answer your question, I think it is worth it. Even for the people we might be snickering at or like warning or these type of things of what's coming. It's nothing you can do to tell somebody what you're doing is not going to work long term. It's not sustainable um, until they get that lesson themselves. And sometimes you get the lesson over and over and over. Um, and sometimes there's new lessons you don't know how to respond and you still mess up. So sometimes you don't have anything to pull from. So I think we got lucky with not going too overboard because we had data to pull from. Um, and unfortunately, I think people just have to make their mistakes on their own. Um, there's nothing we could have said in past podcasts or future podcasts for people not to get the full weight of their own mistakes they're going to make, in spite of knowing or hearing it for
Mhm.
somebody else or with experience or not. Um, so I mean, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how everything's unfolds, and I'm just glad I'm here, conscious to witness it. With um, new eyes and a different outlook based on my past experience, and um, that's part of what life is enjoyable. It's enjoyable to witness how things play out long term.
Yeah.
But with before, I was like kind of rushing things. Like if I do this and this will happen. You know, making life bend to my will. And now I'm enjoying watching it unfold. It's like I have what I think I should do in my business and in my consistency, but I'm no longer tied to that result because things change. Things change all the time, and I recognize in the past if I'm not willing to accept the change and morph and transform and roll with the punches, it just hurts even more. You know, and then you get stuck in your Um, um, I don't know. You get stuck in your jadedness of how you thought it was going to work out because you had it
Mm-hmm.
planned out perfectly. So now I'm a little more lax when it comes to that.
That makes sense.
So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how other people get their lessons and digest them and pivot
Yeah.
and move forward.
I mean, I would say for me, it's more so a thing of like, you know, I second everything you just said, but I also think there's a component of like you don't have to go through that. But that's me imposing that on them because for
Right,
some people
right, right.
they do have to learn that way.
Yeah.
Um, you know what I mean? But like recently, there's a house in my mom's neighborhood. She always sends it to me because she's always tracking the value of her house.
Hmm.
And there's a house that's on the market right now in her neighborhood that's been on the market 3 times, 3 different times in the last 9 months.
Three different prices.
Yep.
Going downward.
No, it's going up.
Mm. Oh, okay.
But it's just it's the like this is where we're at. Just like mentally, this is where people are at. It's I bought this house. I stayed here for 6 months. Now I sold it. The second person comes in, buys it, stayed here for 6 months or 3 months. I sold it, or 2 months. You know, sold it. And so now there's
Mm.
another person who just recently
Oh,
bought
okay.
it.
It's different people going there. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
it's
I was like,
three
why'd
different
you list
people.
your property more than
Oh no, no,
three
it's
times?
three
Okay,
different separate listings
got it. And owners.
in
Yeah,
the last 9 months.
yeah, that's wild.
And like
That's
this
just
this
people
is like
cashing
oh
out. That's
05.
like holding a potato. Who's gonna have the hot potato at the end?
So if that's happening, and I really don't know, I don't know the person who lives there now because of course, like however many people have been through that house, but it's like, are you selling? I would like to know why. I might call the agent.
Hmm.
I might call the agent and be like, hey, why are they selling? They just bought in January.
Maybe it's haunted. It's not. It's not
It's haunted by interest rates. It's haunted by rising interest rates.
right.
Yeah. I want to know why. Like I want to know why because you 3 times that's crazy. Like that's like 05, 06. Like people just buying a house and then flipping it to just buy another house. And it's like everybody's playing the
Hmm.
borrowing game.
Hmm.
And
You're
and that
still
goes,
going. You're still going up into like a higher property
yeah. But
value on the upper leg.
if you believe, if you're someone who believes this is how real estate works, you'll do that. They did that in 05 and 06.
Yeah. I get it.
You know,
All right, we going over, man. I'm about to go to sleep in my chair. This is a riveting conversation, but I'm about to go home, eat tacos, and go to sleep. I got to be up in the morning. You're welcome, listeners.
yeah. Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of the Rich by Monday
Yeah,
podcast.
glad to have you here
Hit the
in
like
my
button.
Billy D voice.
Hit the like button. Subscribe. We've actually been doing really well with our views. We've had in many cases, I think the last 2 shows specifically, we've had more views than subscribers. Um, which I don't know if that's a thing, but it feels like a thing to me. So I'm gonna celebrate that. Um,
I think that is a YouTube thing. Like
is it a thing though? I feel like
people are
that's a
always
thing.
saying, like, hey, only 30% of people are actually subscribed, but we have this many viewers, so it is a push to have people subscribe.
But if you get, say you have like 100,000 subscribes, like subs, and then you have 100,000 views, I feel like that's good because that
Yeah.
doesn't happen. Like if you look at other channels that might have that many subs, they might have like 5,000 views.
Hmm. Or
You know
the
what I
opposite.
mean?
It'd be if 500,000 views and 100,000 subs.
That
That's what I
too.
usually see.
So
Like
I think that's great. So keep up the good work. Visit richbymonday.com. Get your merch. Sweaters are in. I don't know if I told you. Sweaters are in.
I did see that
Uh,
email.
I just put them in storage yesterday. And so I'm going to update the site so you guys can go on there and order your sweaters. The people who have been waiting. Um, we have new logo hoodies in. And receptionist tees will be going out in a couple weeks, hopefully. Yeah. Anything else you want to add, Dorance?
Nope. richbymonday.com.
There you go. So we'll see y'all next week.
Bye.